This is episode 36 of the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. In this episode, we talk about a surprise we have for next week, training with age, and overtraining. We give our tips for farmer carries, and we play a fun little game of Guess the Athlete trivia at the end. See if you can play along and guess which athlete belongs with which championship accolades. Leave us a comment below and tell us how many you get. Let's make hybrid fitness work for you.
Wear on, and you should have started recording.
I'll cut it out. I'm very curious about this, so I'm gonna intro us, and then I want to ask you. So, like, JK, right before we started, tell me what this is.
I just for the listeners, I just asked Anthony if he knew what a hot girl walk is. Right? It's a thing down under here where a group of ladies get together, females get together, they put on their activewear, they put on their New Balance, it's always New Balance shoes at the moment, New Balances are in, and they go for a hot girl walk together. It's like a team walk, it's like a team stroll, but it's always in activewear, and they always get a coffee afterwards or beforehand, up to you to decide. Anyway, I'm invited to a hot girl walk with Georgie and two of her friends on Sunday.
You're invited to the hot girl walk.
Yep. I'm not sure what I'm going to be wearing. Kind of like a hike, but
can you do booty shorts and
no. Anyway, welcome to the Hybrid Coaching Podcast.
Welcome to the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. This is going to be episode 36, guys. I think you've already heard a little intro. I would like to start today by having a little announcement of what's going to happen next week because I'm super excited for it. JK, I think you're excited for it.
I'm excited for it.
So, everyone, you'll get to hear the source of all my information, basically what I take everything from, and that is we are going to have the girls take over the podcast next week. So JK and my significant others will be the ones doing the podcast next week. Very excited for it. I'm thrilled.
I'm excited, and also I'm intrigued as to what they will be talking about. If it will be about us, or if we'll get even a mention at all, Anthony. I'm not sure.
Well,
I'm not
this is very
sure.
interesting. You think that like when you're not around, people talk about you, but I have a suspicion that we're not going to get talked about at all.
Correct.
I think,
And maybe rightly so, right?
yeah, exactly. I think it's fantastic. It's two different perspectives, right? Like, uh, Georgie is your significant other. She's ran HYROX races. She's done both open and pro. She's done doubles with you. Very excited for that
Yeah.
perspective, as well as like, she's your significant other, so she could have insight into like what it's like being now your fiance to
Yeah.
one of the Elite 15 athletes, and what she could share what any of her ultimate inspirations and goals are for the sport and for hybrid fitness as well. And she has a very unique background in that she is studying right now. Is it nutritionist or dietitian? She's studying nutrition, right?
Sports nutrition, yeah.
Sports
Yep.
nutrition. So that's all very exciting, I think, to have her perspective and then also my wife, Lauren's perspective on, being an elite athlete as well. And if nobody knows, basically everything I talk about, I steal from her. So she's the source of all information for us.
Yeah, cool. No, I'm excited. A little bit a different perspective for you guys next week.
Yep. So about that, if you have any topic ideas that you want the women's perspective on, or if you have any questions that you want asked or answered next week, Lauren will post on her stories a give us topic ideas thing. So she'll probably post it before Tuesday because they'll be
Yep.
recording about middle of next week. So
Yep.
sometime between when you listen to this and 3 or 4 days, watch Lauren's stories and you'll get an opportunity to submit questions or topics to them there.
Perfect. Yep.
So I was very excited to announce that. The next thing I'm very excited for is I'm going to be hearing this all at the same time as the listeners. But JK yesterday again got to work out with the Proven Group and James Newberry. He went head to head against James Newberry in a workout, and I hear that you dusted him. Is that what your words were?
Uh, yeah, correct. I did. I did indeed. Now, look, I did say that before we started recording, listeners, but um, yeah, it's been a privilege to train with Tia and James Newbury, right? I haven't. It was the first workout that I. No, sorry, I did work out against Tia and James last time, but I only did one little workout against James yesterday, which was for time. It was one of the workouts that Anthony programmed me yesterday. For time, 400-meter run, 100 burpees to plate, 400-meter run. And my goal was to to go sub 10 minutes. Both on the assault runner and I managed an 8 minute 8 minute flat. 8 minute flat. And then James, I think he came in at 8:50 or 8:55, I think. So it was one of these, and I'll be completely honest, it was one of these workouts that like Tia was watching, Shane was watching, um, and I was like, all right, I need to set my authority here a little bit. So I went out very hot and held on and started the burpees and ended up ended up beating him by a little bit less than a minute. So no, it was cool, and it's been really surreal to, I guess, train or I guess train with them being there as well. Um, so anyway, yeah, that's my little story. I'm the first to say though, if there was any gymnastics or um, Olympic lifting, James would put me to the sword.
So since uh, your workout, like you said, 400-meter run, 100 burpees to plate, and then a 400-meter run. What was your final time?
8 minutes flat.
And
Eight
what was
minutes
his
on the
final time?
nose. 8:53 or 8:54, I think.
Okay. 8:53, 8:54. Yeah. So almost a minute win in a 8, 9 minute workout. That's pretty significant. You're looking at like over 10%, about 10%. So
Yeah, yeah. If you want
uh
to have a crack at that workout, guys, have a go at it. 400
yeah,
meter run, 100 burpee to plate, 400-meter run for time.
send us your times. If you guys beat JK, make sure you get it on video. We'll give you a shout
Yep,
out. And
yep.
I don't know if we have anything, but if you're gonna be in Vegas, I can give you a shirt or something if you video your time and show me you beat
Yeah, cool.
JK. All good
Eight
reps.
minutes. Yep, yep, that's right.
8 minutes flat for a 400. You ran it on an assault runner?
Assault runner, yep.
Yeah. So that's tough. That's awesome though. Uh,
Yeah, that was good.
so going on for our next little thing, I think we only got about 40 minutes left, JK, of time wise for you. So I want to make sure we get to some things. We did have some questions and other like topic for people to that asked for things. I really like doing that. I like the input from the community and
Same.
like having people kind of guide us like this is what I want to hear about, this is what I want to hear about. So it's really cool when people submit and tell us that they're listening and everything. Oh, one more thing. I forgot to mention this when the girls take over. Okay. This is very important. It might become like a once a month thing, intermittently type thing, whatever works out. But the rule is they have to get the highest episode views in order for that to happen.
I
So
think they will.
if every, I think there's no doubt they will, but if everyone shares the episode with somebody else, then you'll be able to know that they're probably going to get it. But right now, I think I set the line at I want to see them hit 2,000 cumulative views from
Yep.
everybody.
Yep.
That'll make it the biggest episode. That'll beat
Yep. I
our
like
big
it.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys share, like, review, we really appreciate it. And when their episode comes out, make sure you do it on that one too. And I can see all the engagement and I'll be like, they're a hit. People love them. We'll keep having them on every once in a while.
Yeah. That's the plan.
Yep. So some of the comments and reviews we got from listeners. Let's go with the first one. This is from public comment on the YouTube, Joe Hennick, 4770. Enjoyed this one, Anthony and JK. I'm an age group 55 to 59. Would value a high or mid-level overview of training program with age in mind. Also, what should my 4 to 6 weeks out look like? So, JK, why don't you start? What would you do for an athlete that is, maybe not in the elite field? They're in an age group and they are looking to, they're in that 55 to 59 age group looking to probably qualify for worlds.
Yeah. It always starts, guys, with looking at their background and history of training, right? Because at the end of the day, um, you need to look at where they've come from to make sure that you're not giving them too much and you're not giving them too little as well. Let's just say that this person has had a pretty um, well-rounded background with a lot of types of fitness. They've ran a lot. Well, I would make sure that we have a look at their a couple of tests and go through some measurements to then pretty much create a structure for them to um, progressively add volume and intensity when needed, but making sure that at the end of the day, the most important thing is for them to create a weekly schedule in which they can be available for at least 6 days of the week. And what that means is we are setting themselves up for as much volume as they can tolerate until we need to, let's just say, taper for an event. Then I would look at if they've had past races, obviously, making sure that we're looking at their strengths and then their opportunities to improve. And then all of that would come together 4 to 6 weeks out from a race, being a little bit more sports specific. And then from there, obviously, go through a very solid 10-day taper. I mean, Anthony, in my eyes, it is similar to, let's just say, someone who is trying to, you know, um, make the Elite 15, but very different. Like, it's a very similar way to actually understand an athlete, but the actual outcome is different. Would you agree, or what's your thoughts?
Yeah, so for the aging athlete, I would make sure that one, whatever work you're doing is fitting into your lifestyle. Um,
Yeah,
maybe, I've talked about before, I really like the 3 days on, 1 day active recovery, 2 days on, 1 day active recovery. They might take one of those active recovery days and really lighten it down for more recoveries. Like So instead of doing, when we talk about our active recovery days, it's usually 45 to 60 minutes of low to no impact, something like swimming,
Yeah.
rowing, biking, at a very easy pace. It could even be a light jog, but that involves impact, so like elliptical or something.
Yeah.
I would say for an athlete that's getting older, um, what do we call like seasoned athletes? Uh,
Mhm.
well seasoned. The
Well
athlete
seasoned, yeah.
that's aging, you want to still get that work in, get that aerobic base in, but maybe instead of the 45 to 60 minutes recovery, you focus more on passive recovery techniques. So, you know, things that would be like scraping, maybe going for a walk or a hike very lightly, very light,
Mm.
low impact, extra rest, things like that that would help them a little bit more in terms of handling that load. As far as like their running ability and everything, maybe start to change out some of that high impact running, especially if it's affecting you. So, if you're running in a program that's 50 to 60 miles a week, maybe you take 60 to 75% of that actually as running and finish all the rest out on the elliptical or on the
Yeah.
bike or something so that you're getting less impact.
Yeah.
The strength training is really going to help with bone density so that you can continue without getting stress fractures and things of
Yeah.
that nature or like brittle bones. So, like, strength training is huge for that. And
Mm.
so, I really think as the athletes get older, they should keep trying for the volume that they're able to fit in, the movements that they're
Correct.
able to fit in. The strength training is very important, right? It's might even be more important for the older athlete than it is even for the younger ones, right?
Yeah.
But one of the big things is that as far as HYROX goes, if you make it to Worlds, everybody runs pro except for 60 plus. So if you're not in
Yeah.
in one of the 60 plus age groups, you need to continue that strength training and strive for hitting prescribed weights at things as best you can within your ability, as long as you're hitting the right and intended intensities. Because if you're scaling things back for load, you're not doing yourself any favor when it comes to the world championships,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you have to
Exactly.
still run pro races at the world championships. There is no
Mm.
open division there. So even if you qualify through the open, you have to have the ability to finish a pro race if you're under 60 years old. If you're over 60 years old, that's when you can focus more on your total output versus the strength you need to be able to push something because the loads are lighter at that age group.
So in theory, or to summarize, like in my head right now, it's like, well, the older you get, the more important recovery, the more important mobility, the more important all the all the other components of fitness come into play, and um, prioritizing that is very important. It's obviously important for everyone, but it's more important as you age. And understanding that having an active day, active recovery day in between a couple of, high volume days is probably the way to go to make sure that at the end of the day we are as fit but also as healthy as possible come race day.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing, right? Like if you can be 100% healthy, and healthy from a broad perspective, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, etc., but also not being as fatigued going into a race, you're going to do so much better if you are 100% overall healthy versus even if you think about it, even 95% overall
Yeah.
healthy. So yeah, it's a good question to ask.
And I think what you touched on there is very important. Like the mobility aspect, addressing like how you're feeling, staying mobile. the recovery aspect, both those things are super important, and they become more and more important as you get older.
Yep.
Maybe in a future episode, we'll talk about warm-ups and what the point of them are and why can't I just jump into a workout.
Yep.
Um, but your warm-ups and getting ready for intense efforts is very important as you get older. Um, but for the aerobic things, there are a lot of aspects where you could just jump right in, you know?
Correct.
You
Yep.
could still do that even as you age. And one of the cool things is like with the amount of aerobic volume we all do, you could actually use some of those aerobic pieces to like jump right in, start them, and that could be your warm up, basically, is a piece of the training you do that day.
Yeah. Correct. Yep.
Right. Do you have anything else to add about the aging? Oh, there was a further question on that. So, with an overview, he asked with the overview of age in mind, what would the training program be like? And that's what we just went over, kind of like how to adapt it to yourself as an aging athlete. I think is, like we said, is very important. Maybe you do reduce the total volume, you do 75%, but don't do 75% like, oh, I have four things listed today. I'm only going to do three of them. Do it in terms of time and total duration. So, like, do each of those four things you have, but only do 75% of the total of each of those, or 80%, or wherever your level is at that point. Just address it so you're still getting everything in, just not the full scope of everything if you have to reduce it.
I agree. The only other thing that I'll say, it's a little bit more like subjective here, but 9 times out of 10, your first mental thought about how you're feeling is your intuition telling you and is correct, right? So let's just say you wake up and you are, let's just say, mentally fatigued and you're tired. Listen to that. Um, 9 times out of 10, give or take, in my opinion, be okay with listening to your intuitive intuition, or sorry, your intuition first up, and don't overthink it. I've personally, and only I can only use myself as an example. I've had to I've had to really be okay with that. Uh, Actually, even more recently than not, just trying to figure out my own body, my own fatigue levels, my own ability to train versus intensity, etc., etc. So when you're older, when you're aging, you really want to make sure that you're not overthinking it. 9 times out of 10, that first thought that comes in your head is probably true or is probably coming up for a reason. Um, so make sure listening to that is very important.
Yes. Uh, okay. So the second part of this, what should 4 to 6 weeks out from my main event look like as an older athlete? I'll give mine on this first, and you can tell me what you think, and then give yours. So I don't think it should look any different than anybody else training for their premier event, right? Like we
Correct.
talked about, I don't think the training changes. I just think the the amount you do and as long as you have to adapt it to your body, right? So whatever you are capable of doing, that is what um, that is what your 4 to 6 weeks out looks like. And you don't change the
Correct.
programming specifically for that. Like we talk about all the time, it is general fitness, general fitness, general fitness, and then about what 3 to 4 weeks out, JK, is when we're like, hey, let's hit all the skills we need for this event.
Sport
Um,
specific.
it's more specific. So you go from one event specific workout a week into 2 to 3 leading into the race. And then that's for like 2 weeks long, and then you taper. So as a as an aged athlete, I would tell you that you don't change what you're doing. Uh, you just adjust it to your fitness level, right? So, like we talked about, maybe it's 75% of everything that's listed. And so you change it to that, adapt it to yourself, and maybe your rest is a little bit more focused on recovery and mobility.
Yeah.
But you have to allot the time for that. So whatever fits your schedule that way.
So exactly. I mean, again, it comes back to if you're an aging athlete, being okay with potentially reducing volume and also intensity a little bit sooner. But again, it depends, right?
Yeah.
Just making sure that you're looking after yourself is the most important thing. 4 to 6 weeks, though, going back to the question, that's when, like, let's give you an example of that. That's when we turn to a lot more sport specific and focus on a little bit more like specific station work, like running into stations, stations into running, etc., etc. But nothing major changes. The structure stays very similar, but touching the stations is a priority, and then making sure again in my head right now, Anthony, I'm just saying at the end of the day, it's all up to you to be intuitive with your body, your mind, how you're feeling, and be okay with waking up and going, no, I should actually listen to how fatigued I am. I should just do an active recovery day today. I think to sum that up, Anthony, I think it's more important as you age to be okay with having a structure, sure, but being okay with going day to day and going, maybe I need to listen to how I'm feeling because it's a little bit, it could potentially be taking a little bit longer to recover from workouts, etc., etc., etc.
I agree. Um, absolutely. So it sounds like you're saying exactly what I was saying, where you don't really change what the workouts are. You just you adapt it to your ability and your level
Correct.
as you age.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right. Um,
Yeah.
this leads into the other question that we got, which I'll pull it up here and I'll just read it out loud. Thanks so much. I've been listening to all your podcasts with James and love them. Was wondering if you could do one about overtraining, how to know how much is enough for your body. Thanks so much. By the way, guys, if we haven't said it already, thank you so much for your comments, all your questions that you guys send in. We actually really appreciate them. We try to get all of them and we will address some of them. Some of them we save for, hey, this could be a whole episode, all that kind of stuff. So if you guys have any questions, comments, topics you want to hear, please, please send them to us.
Yep, I agree. Because at the end of the day, Anthony and I want to talk about X, Y, and Z, but also we want to make sure that we're providing the best value and what you guys want to hear. So thank you so much as well. Um, overtraining. Overtraining. Um, I think the first thing that I'll say, the two metrics that I have a look at is my resting heart rate and also my HRV. Um, we all know that in my head, sometimes I go, how the hell does my whoop here, right, on my wrist? How does it actually truly understand what my heart's doing or what my body's doing? So that's why sometimes it's really important to go back to that intuition and ask yourself how you're feeling more than going back to these metrics. However, looking at it from a broad perspective and going, okay, my HRV and my resting heart rate, just an example, is a little bit, my resting heart rate is a little bit higher at the moment, and it has been for a while. My resting my HRV is not at the same level as what it normally is. Those type of metrics and data points are very important to actually have a look at when it comes to overtraining. And then understanding that, okay, what should you do when you feel as if you have been overtraining? Well, I've learnt the power. I've learnt the power with working with Anthony that that doesn't mean you have to stop completely. The power of still continuously having a plan to move every day and be available every day is still very important. It's just scraping down the intensity. And I'll give you a prime example of right now. I've had to be okay with diluting my threshold pace over the past couple of weeks because of the feeling of my thresholds. I've had to dilute my ego and go, no, these thresholds at my pace that I normally do them at are for some reason tougher mentally and physically to the point where we spoke about it. Um, and due to the fact that I can still drop my threshold pace and still be in the zone that I need to be in, but still get the same, which equals still get the same outcome. Um, and also helping my body to recover from them quicker. So though that's just an example of myself listening to my body, listening to my heart rate data, my HRV, and going, no, it's not about holding that pace and being so vicious on that pace all the time. It's about going back to it and going, no, potentially I may have overtrained or not feeling the right stimulus at my threshold right now. That's okay. It's all about being smart about diluting the intensity then.
Right. Use your metrics. Use the electronics that we have that can help guide our training, right? We don't want to rely on them solely, but you have a Whoop, if somebody has a Garmin, if you have whatever it is that you use to track your training, track your heart rate, all those things, those are great indicators. You know, these health apps, everything, you can kind of see, they try to get it right. I don't think they're exactly right. I know Garmin tries to tell me, "Oh, you're overtraining," or Strava tries to tell you that you're overreaching sometimes. And there's different things, but as far as like if you don't have any of those, what you can do, we'll get into that. But yes, look at your HRV. If you see wild swings in it, it could indicate, "Oh, crap, I'm getting sick," or other things like that. One of the things of overtraining, acute overtraining, would be rhabdomyolysis, right? Rhabdo is extremely terrible. It's like the buildup of metabolic waste in your system. Basically, some indicators of that is if you do repetitive motions. We talked about this earlier, but you remember, I think it was over the summer, a military trainer went to a college lacrosse and
Oh,
just
yeah.
had him do a bunch of calisthenic workouts and other things that like they're high level athletes, but they're not trained specifically in that area. So they're capable and have the mental fortitude to be able to do these workouts, but their body is not trained in that way yet. So they develop uh, rhabdo, you know.
Yep.
Some indicators of rhabdo, if anybody ever wants to know, would be very painful soreness, swelling of the area. So swelling of, like, for example, if you get rhabdo in your biceps because you haven't been doing pull-ups and you do a ton of pull-ups, that can happen. You get extremely sore. It's like you can't even bend your arms. It's so sore. Yeah, you get swelling. One of the indicators is your urine looks like Coca-Cola. So like when that happens, like go to a doctor. You need medical assistance. But
Yeah.
that would be like acute overtraining, or and it's very common for people that were like ex professional or ex Division One athletes or ex even high school athletes that haven't trained at that level for maybe a couple of years, but
Mhm.
still like have the ability to go really hard on something. I used to
Yep.
hear about it a lot in the early days of CrossFit because that's exactly what would happen. Somebody with a little bit of ego, ex
Hmm.
athlete goes in, thinks that they can crush a workout. They go in, they do crush a workout, and then later they like can't move, right?
Mm.
Um, Other signs of like long-term overtraining. So like one of the things that could happen, is excessive soreness, excessive DOMS. If you're training every day to get DOMS, you're not helping yourself out very much, right? Because if you're just damaging, you're not allowing yourself the recovery time you need, and you're taking away from future training blocks. So you end up like being unable to train and able to do stuff. And if you do have excessive DOMs, that's your body telling you, hey, we need recovery. Like,
Mm.
don't keep training. That's why you have this right there,
Yeah.
So if you just get DOMs, and are always training over the top of it, like you're gonna fall into that camp of overtraining.
Yeah.
Um, Additional issues like real overtraining symptoms could be things like prolonged fatigue, excessive fatigue, poor quality of sleep. So, like,
Mm.
not only are you now overtraining, but your ability to recover is being hampered because you can't sleep as well.
Mm.
Um, and then lack of energy, decreased motivation, decrease in your sex drive, your libido, like you just it's just going down. Um, for women, it could be if now this is difficult because it happens to athletes all the time, but like if the loss of their menstrual cycle completely or like big changes in it, drastic
Yeah.
changes in it. Digestive issues are at it. Your immune system is weak, so you actually get sick more often. So excessive sickness, more sickness, um, and like you had talked about, an elevated resting heart rate. So like you think about training, like I'm bringing my heart rate down, all this stuff, but like you overtrain, all of a sudden you have this elevated resting heart rate. So you can get it from your indicators that we had talked
Yep.
about. Um, what can you do for it? Back off, basically. Um, get better hydration, eat more, like give yourself the ability to recover. It doesn't mean back off completely either. It could be just back off, taper back off, um, but allow your body to recover. And like we talked about a little bit, as you age, you need more recovery.
Mm.
So, um,
Exactly.
yeah,
And to preface that, it doesn't mean you have to stop completely. It
right.
means that you can stop intensity potentially, or sorry, decrease intensity, decrease volume. Yeah, sure. But sometimes it's, if you get to a point where you feel as if you have overtrained or you're thinking about it, then having an active recovery day where you're still moving, jumping on the bike, jumping on the machines, just still moving can actually help with recovery, with blood flow. But as Anthony just said, sleep, more food, um, and really allowing your body to actually recover is going to be the most important thing.
Yep. That's absolutely uh, correct. So, is there anything else you wanted to address about overtraining?
I don't think so, Anthony. I think we covered it well. Again, it's a great question. It's a great question for you as an athlete to really be mindful of. Don't overthink it, but also, um, especially in our world or our hybrid um, world, industry, whatever you want to call it, where I feel like a lot of athletes think, a lot of people, and it's again, it's just the way of the world now. It's like more is better. Um, and that's not always the case. yeah, like volume is very important when it comes to, as an example, training for a HYROX because of the volume that we need or that we do in the race. But more is not always better. Smart, smart volume is always is better. And increasing, decreasing, progressive overload on a smart in a smart way, on a smart structure is better. It's not more is always better. Just wanted to preface that.
Agreed. Um, okay. Those are answering the questions and comments we got, and I actually really like them. I liked how they put together the aging and the continual like overtraining and symptoms of it because they kind of go together, right? As you get older, your actual ability to recover goes down, so you can be more susceptible to overtraining.
Yep,
And all
agreed.
right, let's get into. We've been doing a little series, tips on each station, and we're working backwards. We did wall balls 2 episodes ago. We did lunges last episode, and this time we're going to do the farmer carry. So JK, you got a couple minutes here. Tell us about farmer carry. Your tips and tricks for your best farmer carry.
Cool. Tips and tricks. First of all, you can train and get stronger with the farmer's carry or with the station of farmer's carry by not farmer's carrying all the time. That's the first thing. And I guess, guys, listeners, we should look at that from all stations because, you know, it's not just repeating the station over and over again that results in progression of that station. Yeah, there's time and place for farmers carry, and we'll get into that. But look at it from a broad perspective of, okay, what are we working on when we are farmers carrying? How can I put, how can I add in per week 2 or 3 times maybe um, the um, the stimulus that we need, right? So I'll use an example like a lot of barbell work, bar holds, and obviously grip strength, um, but also stabilizing strength, shoulder stability. Um, these are the things that I would be implementing in your training until, again, you get 4 to 6 weeks out and you go, all right, I need to actually start being a little bit more specific. Getting better at a farmer's carry is not necessarily just going, okay, I'm going to do 200-meter farmer's carries at my chosen HYROX weight, rinse and repeat. It's understanding that the way to get better at it is actually overloading, but also underloading so that we are getting different stimulus than what you would be getting in a race. I'll give you an example. There's multiple workouts that I've done that I use 24 kilogram kettlebells, not the 32s that I do in a race. But looking at it from a perspective of, all right, if you want to decrease your time for farmer's carry, get faster. You want to make sure that your body is able to actually move faster. That's why under loading, let's just call it, going lighter is actually really important because you want to teach your body to move faster with those kettlebells. You're not going to move faster with those kettlebells doing it at your HYROX weight or above. That's important, yes, but if you want to move faster and actually get better at the actual farmers carry station, in my eyes, you got to get you actually got to look at it from a lighter load more than anything, so that your body's actually moving faster. Anthony, thoughts?
So I think you're right. You need to have a blend of both the
Blend.
lighter and heavier. But I like, thinking about it as like your grip and how your grip changes. So workouts, like you said, are going to be do grip workouts that aren't necessarily indicated as grip workouts. So things like power snatches into toes to bar, into deadlifts or something like something that's going to tax your grip in every single movement, like dumbbell box step overs. Those are tough.
Yeah.
So having those would be fantastic. And you addressed a lot of it right there, so I'm not going to just rehash it all. But I would say, in terms of your skill set while doing the actual movement in a race, get a good grip. You can do thumb under or thumb over, however you want to grip it, whatever you're strongest with. But make sure these last three fingers are the ones holding most of the load, because that'll really help. You can, if you know what a false grip is, you could try to false grip these
Yeah.
kettlebells and hold on to them. Put some chalk on your wrist and hold on. And then by the time you reach the end, you can get a longer lead on it, because by the end, then it goes down to your handles, your fingertips. Other training things you can do would be like towel hangs, rope
Mhm.
climbs, things that really tax your different ways. If you've never done them, you can do burnout sets of like finger curls with the barbell. This is what we used to do in wrestling for grip, is we would sit there and we'd finger curl a barbell until you literally
Wow.
couldn't, and then you'd have to hold it and wrist curl it until you couldn't, and then you'd bicep curl it until you couldn't.
Oh,
And by the end
wow.
of that, like everything is taxed down. So instead of working core to extremity in that way, we were actually worked extremity towards core. Uh,
Wow.
and that's a burner. That's a really tough burner.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, grip, have a slight lean forward when you're going. Don't sit back, right? You want to like lean forward, and almost, if you can, give yourself room to be able to move your feet quick.
Mm.
And depending on your body structure, it's either going to be short, choppy strides fast, or long, loping strides, right?
Yeah.
Um, but you have to find what's comfortable for you.
Mm. Which
All
is
right.
the most important thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's good on the farmer carry. So let's go on to, I have a little special thing. If you're listening on the podcast, I'm actually going to cut this part out because you're not going to see it. It's a little video. I found a video from Dallas, February 2020 HYROX. This is February of 2020. It's the last event that ran before the COVID shut the world down. It was in Dallas. And so I have a little clip that I'm going to play for everybody on YouTube, and I'll cut it out of the podcast. But this is what the 25-meter sled push lanes looked like. So this
I'm
is back when
excited
it
to
was
see.
25 meters long, sled pushing each way. I had back back during this time, I used to be the person that would live stream Lauren's races. Every time we'd go there, I'd just live stream them. And I'd get like 4 or 5 people watching. I think in this one I have 11 people watching at the time of the race.
Yeah.
So it was the originals. This is way back. So I think the volume's going to be kind of loud. So I'm going to turn it down a little. Uh, but if I recognize some of the other athletes, I'll show it. But you can see this is what one of the lanes looked like. We're in the middle of it. Look how long that already looks.
Yeah.
And
That's crazy.
before we start the video, back in these days, they were allowed to pick up the back of the sled to push it. That was actually one
Pick
of the
up the back.
strategies they do. Now,
Ah,
I
okay.
think in 2022, they changed the rule. So this was 2 years before the rule change. Um, Back then, they allowed you to lift the back of the sled when you pushed. And then in 2022, they said the sled has to remain fully on the ground.
Right. Yeah, wow.
Look how long these lanes are and how hard that
Yeah.
looks.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it,
11 people watching.
back in the day, the sled pull would have been terrible at with a 25-meter lane.
What'd you say?
Doing the sled pull over 25 meters at a time would have been terrible.
Oh yeah, that's actually we can show a little clip of that and then because it goes into that from here. I had live streamed this, but I'll show a little clip of it. But look how difficult like that looks back in the day. So this was if you didn't know in 2022 they changed the weights. The weights that they changed after the 2022 World Championships when Christopher Glosky won they had trouble. They realized that the sleds were shorter handles in the US and they weren't exactly the same. So it was really difficult. So the US
Right.
sleds, we used to have like this comparison. Oh, what's more difficult, right? Well, back in 20, at the start of the 2022 season, they changed the weights on the sleds and they see this was
Right.
the sled pull lane. Look how long that
Well,
is.
yeah.
And look how like difficult that looks pulling a 25-meter sled. But anyway, they changed it and it changed it because they made the total weight of the sled now what they had listed instead of just the weight added. And the
Yeah.
total weight of the sled reduced it about 10 total kilograms.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
so the sled that's when it changed. But yeah, this was February of 2020. In
Hmm.
this race, actually, is the time that Lauren got that qualified her for the Elite 12 World Championships. All right,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
now we're back from the people on the podcast. Sorry, I showed a little video of a sled push and sled pull when there was 25-meter lanes. Uh, and what do you think of that, JK?
It was cool. I obviously I wasn't in the HYROX space until 2022 actually, October 2022. So I've heard about the 25-meter lane. So um, it would have been a lot tougher, especially that pull, right?
Yeah.
But it's cool to see how the sports evolved over time. Um, but yeah, no, that's cool to see.
All right. So now we have a little game that we're gonna play. Uh, we
Oh
talked about
yes.
this. I call it the matching trivia game. So I have these are only HYROX athletes, so only HYROX stats. But we could have done overall hybrid, but I thought that would make it too easy. So
Hmm.
I only went with their HYROX stats. I want to. I've listed their stats up, and I want you to guess which athlete each one is. And so everyone, if you're not on the YouTube channel, I'm still going to read everything out and we'll take the time. So if you want to guess along with JK, just listen along and we'll have it go. So, all right, JK, you see the screen?
Yep.
All right. Athlete number one has four championship win, and I'm just gonna preemptive this. It's a championship win, so I didn't include majors, only if the major was a championship. So this is all U.S. championships or North American championships, world championships, and European championships. So if you raced in a championship race, and then that's what they were considered. So like majors, for example, Amsterdam was not a championship race, uh,
Okay.
even though it was a major. That's going to have to
Right.
change because I did this before this year as where I took all these stats from. So it's not really going to show this year, but the uh, the championships last year, for example, Washington D.C. was the North American Championship. Um, Vienna was the European Championship, right? So
Gotcha. Yep.
that's what when I say championship, that's what they are. All right, this first athlete, athlete number one. This one should be easy. Tell me who this is. They have four championship wins, three world, one US. One championship second place in the US. Two no podiums at the championships. Both of those happened at the world level. Seven total championship races they've raced in. And that's another important thing is you'll see that some of these athletes, these are the elite 15 athletes. We've had, I think I did the math, about 450,000 total people in the world race a HYROX in the last 7 years, right? 210,000 last year. So it's about 450,000 total. Plus, what if you add like this year's already, we're over 500,000 people. When we look at these athletes, these are like the 10 best HYROX athletes of all time in no
Yeah.
particular order. Um, so they in their championship races, this person has a 57% win percentage. 57% of the time they take first place in a championship race. Since 2022, which we talked about was the change of the sled, they have a 50% championship win percentage. They've won two out of the four championships they've been in. Their championship points percentage, breaking that down, that means that I assigned 3 points for a first place, 2 points for a second place, 1 point for a third place, 0 points for off the podium. And so, of the total amount of victory points that they could get, which means this person, they were in seven championship races, the maximum victory points would be 21. This person has a 67% victory point in their championship races. That means that they wind up on the podium and get first, second, or third in terms of the total points, 67% of the total points they could get. Who is this athlete?
Well, it's like I'm in my head right now. I'm overthinking it, but I've got two athletes, but I'm pretty sure it's Lauren.
No, it's the other one.
Oh,
So, three-time world champion, one-time U.S. national
so it's
champion.
Hunter.
It's Hunter McIntyre.
Ah, Hunter McIntyre.
All right. This one, I thought the first one was gonna be really easy, but we'll go with
Yeah,
this one.
sorry. Sorry, Lauren.
The athlete number two, three championship wins. They have one world championship and two European championships.
Yeah,
Two championship third places. Three times they've not been on the podium in a championship. They have eight total championship races ran. 38% win percentage. Their points percentage is 11 of 24 possible victory points all time, 46%. Who is this athlete?
Alex Ronkovic.
No, that was a trick question. This is Tobias Lotvine.
Oh, oh, I can't believe I got that wrong as well.
So Tobias coming in.
Tobias,
That's an
wow.
impressive resume, right? So when you talk about
Very
the athletes,
impressive,
that's
mate.
that's impressive. All right, how about this one? This person has three championship wins, one world championship, two European championships, three championship second places, two championship third places, one time no podium at the championships, nine championship races with a 33% win percentage. Since 2022, they have a 60% championship win percentage. They've won three of five championships. Their points percentage is 17 of 27 all time, 63%. Who is this athlete?
Alex.
This is Alex Ronkovic.
Yeah.
All right, athlete number
Impressive.
four. Now this one might be
Oh,
really
okay.
easy. Eight,
Yeah.
eight championship wins, three worlds, three US North American, two European. One championship second place at Worlds, one championship third place at the US North American Championships, one no podium at Worlds. Little caveat, she was 8 months pregnant.
Hmm.
11 championship total races, 73% victory percent or win percentage. Since 2022, it's a 67% championship win. She's won four of six
Wow.
championships she's been in. And the points percentage is 27 of 33 possible victory points all time for 82% victory points. Who's this?
That's crazy. This is the one and only Lauren Weeks.
That's right. All right. Athlete number
Her
five.
percentage is crazy.
Yeah, really high. Championship wins. Um, athlete number five. Oh, by the way, who we already have mentioned earlier, she will be hosting 50% of the podcast next week, so make sure you listen in. I know
Yep.
JK has to go, so he's probably stressing out. I have a couple more,
No,
but
you're
maybe
right.
maybe we'll just do like
On
two
my
or three
championship.
more.
Yeah.
Um, this athlete, one championship win, European, three championship second places at Worlds and European, seven no podiums, but still raced in the championship for a total of 11 championship races. Just for an example, this person is tied with Lauren for the most appearances in championship races. Um, championship points percentage.
Um,
He's won 9 of 33 victory points all time for a 27% victory point. Who is it?
I'm stuck here. It's a European-based athlete, but I am thinking it's a female, but I am stuck. Who it
This
is?
is Viola Oberlander.
Ah, yeah, makes sense. Viola.
She's ran in 11.
Viola.
This is
Wow.
like, think about the Elite 15. She's ran in 11 championship races.
Wow.
That's like noteworthy in itself. All right.
Yeah,
How about this one?
absolutely.
This person has one championship win, one championship second place, two no podium finishes, four championship races with a 25% win percentage. She entered the sport in 2022. Championship points percentage, she's won 5 of 12 victory points all time for a 42% victory point. And I gave a hint away that it's a she. I should have said this athlete. But who is this?
Oh man, I'm terrible. Like, I wish I actually knew a little bit more stats because, nah, you go.
This is Michaela Norman.
I thought it was
Came
going to be an
in really
American
hot, did really
Michaela.
well, set the world record in her first race. Uh, maybe we'll one day get to like who are the best rookies ever, and she's definitely in there as like one of the best rookies to ever enter the sport.
Yeah,
All right, this athlete won championship win at the World Championships.
yeah.
Five no podiums, but has raced in a total of six championship races with a 17% win percentage. So this athlete has done six championships and taken first place at one of them at Worlds. Points percentage, 3 of 18 matches, 17% win percentage. Who is this? Still a world champion of HYROX.
Yeah. Um, Meg Jacoby.
No, this is Chris Verglosky.
This is the thing. I'm like, it's my sport, it's my career, but I should know a bit more of the data and the and these components, Anthony. Athlete 8. Here we go.
Athlete 8, one championship win at Worlds, three championship second places, two championship third places, six
Okay.
championship races won with a 17% win percentage, entered the sport in 2022, championships points percentage, 11 of 18 victory points all times for a 61% victory point. Who
So
is this
this is
athlete?
Meg Jacoby.
That's right. All right, I think this is my last one. Uh, Who is this? Athlete 9. One championship win, one championship third place, two no podiums, four championship races ran for a 25% win percentage. Championship points percentage, 4 of 12 victory points all time for 33%. We've talked
One
about this
time
person on the
championship.
podcast actually the last 2 weeks.
One time championship. Third place. Worlds. One time championship.
If you want a little hint, this is
Yeah.
probably the best stationer of all time.
Miriam.
That's right, Miriam Van Roor.
Wow. Miriam.
Anyway,
That's
that was a
cool
fun
from
little
her.
game.
That was. I apologize, listeners, that I wasn't. I thought I was going to be very good at that, Anthony, but I wasn't at all.
I think you got like two of them, but
I
I
know.
meant to confuse you. I meant to do that with Tobias. I like
I'm
that.
sorry.
I like that I was able to get you with Tobias because isn't his is impressive, isn't it?
Very impressive, man. Yeah, very
Like
impressive.
his all time stats are great. Like it reads like Alex Ronkovic.
Yeah. He could be just to he could honestly come back, last chance qualifier, and get one of those spots again for the Elite
Absolutely.
15.
And
Yeah,
like, just think about what last year too. He came in what, sixth,
he came
and he was
sixth,
a last, like
roll
he just
down.
happened to be on site when someone dropped, like Lucas dropped, and it rolled down to
Yeah,
Tobias. Is that what it was? Like, that's
crazy,
crazy.
hey?
Yeah,
Yeah, he, he's a star.
he's a
Um,
definitely a stalwart of the community.
I've got Anthony. I've got to get going. I've got my training day. I've got a 12-kilometer run, nice and easy outside to get going for the day.
Nice.
Um, was that
All right,
right? Just want to
guys,
make sure. 12K.
make sure you tune in next week. Very excited for next week's episode. Um, if you want to find JK, why don't you go?
On Instagram, jk.jameskelly. Thank you for all the questions and reviews as well, guys. So keep them coming.
Yep. Everyone, if you would like to get in touch with me, just message me on Instagram at the hybrid engine or on Instagram at a wild parasini. I appreciate everybody's comments. Again, if you could like, comment, subscribe, hit that follow notifications button, let us know. We appreciate all of you guys listening. We will let JK get out on his run. But thanks again, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. If you'd like to get in contact with James Kelly to seek out some coaching or for general questions and inquiries, please go to Instagram and find him at jk.jameskelly. Or you can find him and Georgie Vesley on YouTube at James Kelly and Georgie Vesley. If you'd like to contact Anthony or seek out programming or coaching questions from the Hybrid Engine, please go to Instagram at the Hybrid Engine or at a Wild Parasini. Thank you again. Have a great day.